Hello and welcome to the virtual film company here on spatial.io. We meet here every Wednesday at noon Eastern time to talk about technology, AI, and a whole bunch of topics of interest. If you want to know what we're doing, be sure to check out our YouTube channel at Virtual Film Company. We also have a Facebook page, and we encourage you to visit and show us some love. Today, we're going to be talking about generative AI services, the pros and cons, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of these tools, what tools are available, and why one might prefer a certain tool over another tool. So I'm going to hand this over to Chris for comments, and we'll go from there.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's quite an interesting and important topic, because when we think about these many different platforms or online services, however you call it, that you can use to generate AI images. Most of them, I guess, have different business models. Some of them are paid, others are for free, and we just have chosen the probably most used of them. I'm showing them here full screen. So we checked about, for example, 6 of the most used generative AI services online. That's just to explain the little ship icon that is Midjourney, Night Cafe, it's called Night Cafe, Leonardo AI, Adobe Firefly, DALL-E 2. DALL-E 2 is a tool that we can use coming from OpenAI, the same makers of ChatGPT. And there's also Stable Diffusion, that is an open source model we can use, or you could also use if you'd like to. Right. So, yeah, I mean, let's start off, guys. I mean, first we could maybe just say which platform did we use. I can say I used quite several of them. I used Midjourney a little bit. I used Night Cafe a lot. I used a little bit of Leonardo. I used DALL-E 2 and a lot of Stable Diffusion. I never really used Adobe Firefly, so I can talk to most of them. And what about you guys?
Yeah, I've used all of them, and I've pretty much settled on Midjourney, which Midjourney is calling itself the best image generation program out there, and I would have to somewhat agree that it does do a remarkable job of images. But Midjourney, like Night Cafe and somewhat like Leonardo, are really community-based services where one can go in there and generate images, but the whole idea that they're trying to build on, and I personally don't think that this is feasible personally, and I actually did a analysis on whether a tech company could continue to produce technology and also be a social media company, a company that has a community built around it. And while a company can have followers, it's very difficult to have a closed environment like Midjourney is trying to do, like Night Cafe is trying to do, because it keeps people in that environment. And, if you look around at Facebook, X, I was going to say Twitter, and all of the other social media services, they have vibrant AI art communities where people are using these tools to post to these open communities rather than sticking to Midjourney. And Midjourney, has 2 tiers basically. One is a stealth tier where you have a private account and your images are not basically available for everyone to view, but one pays for that. And one of the things I'm trying to sort out right now is whether the images, the plus 100,000 images I've created on Midjourney will remain safe if I decide to either leave or downgrade my account. People are saying no, that they will immediately go into the public domain, which, does bring up an interesting side topic here, and that is, the copyright of AI work. And one of the copyright cases that's been dragging along in the courts of late is that I think it was 2001, anyway, within the last year or two, a person, I believe his name was Jason, submitted a Midjourney image to a photographic competition. And, he didn't label it as a photograph. I think he labeled it as something like altered image, whatever. But the Copyright Office on Tuesday finally declined to issue a copyright because they are saying that it didn't make enough changes. And I want to say he made, quite a few hundred changes to it, but that didn't satisfy them. And this reminds me very much of the early days of photography, where it became very difficult to copyright an image, and basically the copyright law stated that it was really up to the Copyright Office to say whether a photograph had artistic merit or not. So, that's where we are now. But the Copyright Office has also, here in the United States at least, has also opened up for public comment on AI. So anyone watching this, listening to this, please go to the U.S. Copyright Office, do a search on public comment on AI, U.S. Copyright Office, and respond, because they need to be educated about what AI is. And, again, we're in the same place that photography was many, many years ago, where people said, oh, you're just clicking a button. How can that be art? Anyway, back to our chart here.
Yeah.
Night Cafe is, very like
Before
Midjourney.
you move forward, can I comment on the Midjourney?
Sure.
You guys keep going.
Okay, so Night Cafe, to me is very like Midjourney. They have a community, and, knowing that we were going to do this topic today, I decided to pop in to Night Cafe yesterday. I hadn't been there for a year, and I said to myself, man, I'm glad I didn't release any of the images that I created a year and a half ago, because they are so bad that it's embarrassing to even think that, I thought that whatever I created was art. So, but, having not been there for a year, I found that I was eligible for all kinds of badges. And so I, got badges and got free points and everything else. But again, it's part of this community. And, they are using a variety of back-end systems, including Stable Diffusion, to create images. But I just don't feel comfortable being stuck in these silos. So,
wait a little bit. You're jumping quite deep into that, mister. Maybe we should, for all the people that never use one of those services, we should explain a little bit more how those systems work. And Eric, did you use some of them yet?
Eric seems to be having audio problems here. So,
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
yes,
Yes.
I can hear you now.
So the only thing I wanted to comment with Midjourney, because that's like the only one that I have had interactions with, was
Okay.
if you're working with the designer and you have ideas for a gallery that you'd want to have created, I definitely found it interesting the way you could curate and come up with themes and just seeing the way it would imagine things and bring things into existence. So it's...
So you like the experience?
Yeah, like working with the artist and being able to have them tell them what you're looking for, what kind of images you're wanting to create, and then them doing the work, creating all of them, and then looking at them, and then going in and making tweaks. And we did a book, and the thing is like the amount of time it would have normally, if you laid out the 32 images that made it, and to have somebody hand draw these things or bring them into existence, I don't even know how long it would have taken to do this stuff. So I just marvel with technology as far as what we're able to do. It's truly powerful, and I've enjoyed the experience of working with the artist and bringing things into existence. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously people think it's open to debate, but you know, this is a powerful time that we're in right now of creating and bringing things into existence.
Right. So just again for all the people out there, because you jumped quite deeply into certain topics there, John. And before that, I would like to give a short introduction to the platforms I'm showing them in this little window again. Just to see, those platforms basically are more or less all available via a normal website. Just go somewhere in the internet, for example, to a
no.
oh yes.
No, not Midjourney. Midjourney, unless you're in the early beta, cannot access my website.
Well, you go to Discord, and that's the website somehow, isn't it? Or it's running in a browser. You don't have to install the software. You don't have to install the software.
Running in Discord only right now. Midjourney has had a number of big disasters when it comes to their web product, and they're trying to really push it. And all of us that have been on the beta were very disappointed with it and are
right. So okay, Midjourney is.
Go ahead.
You're breaking up a little bit. So Midjourney can be accessed, but the point is you don't have to install the software. You can access it on Discord. That's something like a social media hub that is running in your browser. And so you go into this Midjourney bot called and type in your so-called prompt, the little text that the image is generated of. And then it's directly calculated, and then you can download that image. So that's the way it goes with Midjourney. Night Cafe is a website. You go to a website, you make a login for yourself, you get free points. For points, you can generate images. If your points are, gone, you can pay for more points, and then you can make more images. And you'll get the possibility to use different type of AI models to generate your images. Midjourney always uses their own model. They have their own AI model, and this is going to generate the images. Night Cafe is offering different models, so you have a little bit of choice. Some model is more realistic, the other model is a little bit more cartoony, maybe, whatever. You can choose. And here also are some news. Some things cannot be used free anymore. You have to pay for some now. Leonardo is also just using their own model, basically, and it's also, let's say, a web-based application that you can access. DALL-E 2 is more special in that case. You can access DALL-E 2 through the OpenAI website, where you can also talk to ChatGPT. That's the same website. You can choose ChatGPT or DALL-E 2, for example. Or if you're using Bing, the web search engine from Microsoft, you can also tell the Bing bot to generate an image for you. And the Bing bot will, in this case, use DALL-E 2 to do that. So in this case, it's it's this combination that Microsoft and OpenAI have because Microsoft is financing them. And Stable Diffusion basically can be a bit more complex in this case. Must not be a website. You can download the whole model, and you can download a certain software that runs in your browser, and then you can generate images. But there are also a lot of websites that are using Stable Diffusion, like Dreamlike AI, and many other web services. We couldn't list them all here. And they use the models of Stable Diffusion. So Stable Diffusion is open source. And we have to say that from Stable Diffusion, a lot of knockoff models have already been generated. So people are training models in more realistic way, in a cartoony way or whatever. And you can access those different types on different websites, or you can download them yourself. Again, John, you have to talk a little bit about Firefly. I don't have that much experience with that.
Sure.
But firstly, the point is, except for Firefly, I think for the beginner, for Midjourney, Night Cafe, Leonardo, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion anyways, you always have a chance to start without paying any money. You just go there and you have some free images you can generate, and then you might pay or won't.
No, correct. And, I mean, I was just thinking about, what you were saying about Midjourney. Are you running Discord in a browser?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the confusion. Okay. So I run Discord as a client, not as a browser. So yeah, I mean, you can list and run Discord in a browser and create images that way. So, but yeah, I mean, Midjourney does have for Midjourney members, they store your images on the back end so you can get to them. But as I said, the web interface is still being worked on. But yeah, Firefly is particularly interesting in that it's owned by Adobe, and the Firefly model is based on Adobe stock. So Adobe claims to own all of the images used to create the model. And, that hasn't dissuaded some people from still trying to sue Adobe, but with that ends up. The interesting thing about Firefly is that yesterday Adobe released it to the general public, and we're starting to see Firefly being incorporated into various Adobe products. And so we're starting to see it incorporated into Photoshop, for instance, into Premiere, and very interestingly, into Adobe Express. And there are some amazing things that one can do with Adobe's Firefly and Express. Midjourney has some of the, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, all of these products have some of the features that Firefly has. For example, being able to take a part of an image and regenerate that part of the image. And sometimes it works really, really well, and sometimes it doesn't. So, one of the things, for example, I created an image yesterday where the legs were a little bit off. And so, I took the lasso tool in Adobe Photoshop, lassoed that, and regenerated the legs perfectly. But for the last 2 days, I've been trying on hands, and it just can't get the hands right. But the big advantage, well, I mean, it comes up with hands, but they don't fit with the rest of the image. And so I've been struggling with that, trying to say, you use the image as a reference and generate hands, but it's still not doing it. I see. Figure it out at some point. But, with Adobe, you can select parts of the image. With Midjourney, to a precision. I mean, Midjourney, you can do the same thing, but it's not very precise, and you're doing it in Discord, and it's just not, in my opinion, practical. I mean, Adobe allows you to use all of the tools that it has, like the lasso tool, where you can draw a shape around something. Adobe also came up with text effects, and so one can do all kinds of crazy text. You can say, make me a virtual film company text made out of film, or whatever, and it will come up with that. But I'm not a graphic artist per se, and I look at this text and I think, yeah, it's really cool, but what is the application? I think it might work for like a banner or something, but I just don't see it personally. But, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are doing some very cool things with it. The big thing about Adobe to me is that Adobe has all of these products, and when it comes to workflow, it's a lot easier to do this. For example, with Adobe Express, one can go into Adobe Express, download a video, so create a new video and download a video from Adobe's Express stock library, which is free, of a train, something moving in the background, right? And you put it in the timeline. You then use generative fill to create another layer, and you say, the dining cart on the train with big windows. And so it creates that, and you put that layer above the moving layer, and then you use the delete tool to make the windows transparent. When you play it, it looks like the train's actually moving. I mean, and that took like 5 minutes to do. And so the creativity that these products are allowing one, it's just mind-blowing that, something like that would have taken hours or, if not days to do beforehand. So, I'm a big fan of Firefly. I'm a big fan of Adobe products. I guess that they go hand in hand, and Adobe continues to work on AI. So, they're looking at, text to vector, text to pattern, text to brush, extend image, which you can actually do already. I've done that a couple of times where I've had an image and I've expanded the canvas and then told it to fill in what was around the image. And, generative fill sometimes does a good job, but I've had some good luck here. And then text template. So Adobe has really embraced this, and so far, it's free with the product, right? It's part of the product. You pay your subscription and you get access to all of
That's the point. You need to have an Adobe subscription, so it's not really free.
Correct. But, to me, Adobe, if you compare, say, Adobe subscription to Autodesk subscription, Adobe subscription, if you shop around and you look at, there's sales quite often during the year, particularly around Christmas, where, they offer the full subscription at the fully discounted price, which is normally $29.99 or something like that a month. And to get all of those products for $29.99 a month is totally mind-blowing. I mean, it's just, when you look at some of these other, where go ahead.
Sorry, just to jump in here. I mean, we're not paid by Adobe here anyways, but the point is, yeah, sure. I mean, they have a lot of software that they're offering in a bundle in the end, but sure, you can compare that with other software and how expensive that is. That's fine. But if you compare that in being able to generate AI art, just when you hear about it, to go to a website for Adobe, you need to download first the access that you need to make an account. You have this, I don't know how how they call it now, where you connect to your Adobe products in the cloud.
Right, the Creative
You-
Cloud.
Yep,
The
the Creative Cloud. Right. And then you have to install software on your PC or laptop because it's not running in the cloud. You just access it, the license in the cloud. And then you install them, and then you can use them, and you have to pay them. And when you compare that to Midjourney, if you compare it to Nightcafe, to DALL-E 2, Leonardo, or whatever, well, you can go to a website, you make an account, and you can go without paying a dime, at least for some images to test it.
Yeah, and it was interesting yesterday. You know,
Yeah.
I mentioned I went on to Night Cafe and I ran a prompt on Night Cafe using Stable Diffusion XL and ran the same prompt on Midjourney, and I was actually impressed. I mean, Midjourney was slightly better in terms of detail, but they were close. I mean, it wasn't like before where it was like, oh man, this is terrible.
Yeah,
So,
that was a big difference, no doubt about it. Eric.
Yeah, with the Adobe, not to champion them as well, but I must say that their development, they definitely are putting money, but they have, they're smart in the sense you're totally right. They've got all these programs. I mean, I only use pretty much Premiere and Photoshop a little bit. And, you could spend tons of time learning all of their programs, and man, to master all of them, After Effects and everything like that, you could be doing a lot of things. But Adobe, I feel like, has the advantage of how many people are they getting, anywhere from $80 a month for a business to $30 a month. So they're one of the giants I see in this game, because they've got money coming in every month, so they can be putting money into getting updates. I feel like they've done a great job of going from people having to buy the expensive programs to now everyone is on a monthly.
Right, I can understand that. The point just is, for me, when we think about this giant boost of usage, especially for generative AI art, right? So many people, millions, are generating images now in a short amount of time. I think just because if there would just have been two companies, let's say DALL-E 2 from OpenAI, let's say, and Adobe Firefly, for example. I don't know if the possibilities would have been so big for so many people in a short amount of time, because again, Adobe Firefly is first, you need to pay, and you need to get the Adobe Creative Cloud installed, and blah, 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 stuff like that. But the other way, again, is, in my opinion, opening these possibilities with Night Cafe, for example, or also Midjourney or Leonardo, or also DALL-E. If you go to the OpenAI website, it's just making an account in 10 minutes or 1 minute, or how long you take for it. And you don't have to pay anything, and you can do stuff there. You can test it. And there are many others. There's Starry AI, and oh my goodness, so many other platforms. And I think that this, let's call it immediacy somehow, right, is really opening the minds of people, because there is no barrier for them. They can say, if someone tells them, hey, you can make those images by yourself, just writing a text prompt, and go to that website, go to Night Cafe, make a login, and then type in your prompt, go. It's there, right? And this is really capturing millions of people in a short amount of time. And on top of that, we have to say why they do that. Those companies are doing that because every time when you interact, writing a prompt, generating an image, the model in the background gets trained by it. So this is also important, right?
That's true. And there's so many programs to where, do you really need to have this monthly one? Because there's a lot of free programs out there. So I feel like by default, some people just are like, yeah, I'm just going to keep the Adobe just because. But you're right. There's all these alternatives. There's editing programs that are for free. And I think it's interesting that so many people are doing stuff for free. But once you seem to get into a platform, they give you so much. But then
Sure.
when you do like it, all of a sudden now there's the premium version that, all right, it's just going to cost you this much to have it.
Yeah, there's always that catch, unfortunately. So, Adobe right now has approximately 29.5 million active subscribers, right? But Adobe's
Yeah.
been
Wow.
in business for
That's a
30
lot of
years
money.
plus.
Quite
Yeah,
some.
but if you look at Midjourney, that started in July 2022, right? It
Yeah.
has over 14 million users and is growing at a
Wow.
rate of approximately 100,000 users per day. And
Per day.
Midjourney no longer has free accounts, right? They stopped doing the free
Okay.
accounts
Wow.
because
Oh,
people
they
were
did?
stealing.
Really?
Yeah, people were stealing images, abusing it, and so they stopped it. And so
Okay.
now you
So
have
so I
to
was
pay to
wrong.
play.
So I was wrong when I said that you can go also to the Midjourney and just start, because I did that. It's quite a time ago, and I had some credits free and tested. So that's not possible anymore.
That
Not
was the
unless they've
beta, I
opened it up
believe.
again. Well, they stopped it. They actually stopped it because it was being abused, and people were going into Midjourney using these free accounts, not creating any images, but stealing other people's images. So,
Mm.
plus there were people that were basically, what should I say, running farms where you could go in and they would give you a fake username, which you could then use to generate images on Midjourney for free. And so, there were hundreds of people, or thousands maybe, that were abusing the system. Apparently, a lot of this was coming out of China. So, it's interesting. I'm just looking here to see if there's any update on Midjourney regarding images, but
Free accounts.
yeah, free accounts, I don't think so. It looks like they're still not giving accounts. Yeah, a lot of these companies, for example, one that I started using that, has nothing to do with what we're talking about really, other than it's AI that creates music. Suno, announced a few days ago that, unfortunately they couldn't continue offering free accounts because of
Okay.
cost involved. And the costs are massive for, the back end GPUs. And that's one of the,
It's calculation time.
yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, insane. And, to me, that's one of the big pluses still of using Midjourney, no matter, how much I can complain about the stealth mode and all of that, is that Midjourney still makes relax time available. So you can, if you have patience, but you have to have an account to use relax time. So you can then generate images very slowly and
Mhm.
not pay for them. And so, to me, that's a big plus because, you mentioned, it's as simple as putting in a prompt. Well, it is as simple as putting in a prompt, but a lot of people still have problems coming up with prompts. And that's one of the, pushes behind many of these companies, is to make the prompts as simple as possible for people to use. And so, there's some people, more the autistic types, that are complaining and saying, well, now it's just coming so simple that there is no skill to using it. So that's, sort of a argument that's going on in the background.
Right. I mean,
Cool.
generating images is for sure, yeah, it is an art in itself of writing a prompt, making the AI aware of you, of what you would like to get created. Yeah, it's a special skill that you have developed over some time. But I mean, talking about those platforms, we wanted to dive a little bit into the pros and cons because I think we will also have a short talk today about not just generating images, but also how to use the large language models as well. And
I think John has been giving pros and cons as we've been going.
Yeah, it's. I just wanted to add some things just to put that into one line in this case. For example, I used Night Cafe quite a lot because Night Cafe is made or is a website, and the people that drive or created that website and service behind that are also generating the model Stable Diffusion. And so you could access the newest Stable Diffusion model called SDXL first on Night Cafe. And I used it there quite a while. And there was a beta model, the 0.9 beta model. And with the points every day, I hadn't got to pay. And I was creating quite some interesting images there. And when the SDXL, the newest model, then was finished and came out, well, with my points, I had 120 points or whatever on Night Cafe, but I couldn't use that newest model with the 120 points because using the newest model was just for the premium accounts, for the account that is paying.
Yep.
So that is something where I thought like, okay, I could still use the beta model. It's still online. You can use still the little bit smaller model, but the newest best one has to be paid in that case. I was a little bit disappointed and thought like, hey, come on, guys. I mean, you promoted that so much, and we received something like 50 frames for free as an introduction or whatever, right? But afterwards, even if you had 1,000 points, you couldn't use it. So, so that was one of the cons of Night Cafe. Otherwise, they're offering also DALL-E 2, for example. You can also use DALL-E 2 if you want to. On Night Cafe, you can use the older Stable Diffusion models. I just have to say, for someone who has not much experience, they give you a lot of help on the website. They have a nice community over there. Every day you can earn points for free. You don't have to pay, and you can generate your images there. So these are the pros and cons for Night Cafe from my side.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you. I think that Night Cafe is a good starting point for people, particularly if they like the community. I mean, Midjourney, Night Cafe, they have these prompt challenges where you can get involved. They have people that will help you out. But again, it's this big community of people, and that's really not for me. So
okay, well, yeah, sure.
Really not my thing to be part of a.
So for
I
you,
do
John,
feel you are a little bit biased, John, towards what as much as you want to complain about a platform, I do think that you have some bias.
Oh, my bias is towards owning what I create and not creating to put it in the public domain. And I think that's, I don't think there's anything wrong with not wanting everything I create to be put into the public domain. I mean, I think that's a sort
you
of.
paid money for that, right? You paid money for it.
Exactly.
And his time. And his time.
Yeah,
and his time, exactly. And getting better, how you did that over a year or 1.5 years or whatever with Midjourney, very, very much every day you were working on getting better prompts, paying money for that. And if you would lose all these images into the public domain, well, that's a loss for you, isn't it?
No, it is because, I've started selling images on Redbubble and other images out there that it's like Adobe saying, well, if you use our tools, everything you use belongs to, I mean, everything you create belongs to us. And that's just like,
I actually think
uh,
there might be some fine print, like when you're uploading images and all that stuff and the crazy Adobe thing. Who knows if you're actually giving them some rights to train some of their things off of certain images. Who knows, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, right. That's for sure. I mean, that's a different topic, in my opinion. You're right, because that is really complex. What does it mean to train a model on something? How much does this model take from your images? But they other people could really maybe completely reproduce your style, right? If you have a very very special style and you develop this style over a long time and you put it in there a lot of work, and then other people can just do that because the AI was trained on your images, and people say, I love your style, make me a new image for free, basically in the style of Eric, let's say, whatever. And normally they would come to you and pay you $100 for that, for doing that, right? You could earn a living out of that. And now, because an AI model was trained with your data, well, they can do that for free, or someone else get the money, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting
money.
time. It is very much an interesting time. If you're a creative, like, I don't know how you can survive without embracing some of these new technologies, because the amount of time it takes to do all of these things, to have an assistant. People are they're saying, hey, I don't want an assistant that could only cost $20, $30, $50 a month. I mean, an assistant is expensive to have employees. So to have people assisting you, and I know we didn't even get into like with GPT chat yet. I think that's going to be coming up, but this is empowering people who are small businesses to be able to do a lot more work. So it's the double-edged sword. I think that the people at the top, if you're slow and just kind of still operating archaic, you're going to get left in the dust. The perfect example was, Adobe's doing what they can do, but to hear they have almost 30 million users, and then you've got Midjourney with coming up on 15, like half of the amount of users within a year and a half. And you're talking about Adobe is a brand that's been around for a long, long time, since I remember getting the discs that you had to put on your program and upload it to your computer. They're some of the pioneers, I think, in the technology. So that's amazing that they're already that close.
Yeah. Right.
yeah, no, definitely.
John, anyone has some final thoughts, something that you want to give to the public about pros and cons of one of those mentioned platforms, services, whatever, something special?
Well, I mean, if you look at, David, the CEO of Midjourney, considers Midjourney to be the best image generation program there is. In fact, at the last meeting last week, he basically said that, if you're thinking of getting into image generation, forget it, because you're never going to beat Midjourney. And I think, that's
very humble of him to come and approach it in that light.
well, the images are good, but if you also look at Adobe, where I believe that something like 90% of all professional creatives use Adobe products. If you have these tools embedded in a product that you're using and don't have to, go to one product and generate the image and then bring it in and upscale it and, jump through hoops. I really think that Adobe has financing, the money, and the products
For
make
sure
this
they are.
part of everyone's workflow. I mean, it's a natural progression, right?
Yeah. I mean, Adobe is a giant in image generation, no doubt about it. But it doesn't mean that just out of the box, some new things can happen. I mean, who ever thought that a software like Blender would dominate up to a certain point the image creation in the 3D environment, right? When gigantic companies like Autodesk are still there, right? And now they can keep up with quality and so on as an open source company funded by, well, by other companies giving them money and some people, right, funding them so they can program a 3D graphics program that is amazing, right? So things can happen. I mean, there's always
100%.
something new.
And I think things are happening so quickly and so fast. I mean, you talk about GPT chat. When that hit the ground, it was, you talk about users, people signing up for users, like that was, it set records for the amount of people that signed up for a new program in a short period of time. So, I mean, I don't think that's going away. I think, you've seen Meta do that Threads thing. A lot of people jumped on, but just because people jump on doesn't mean it's going to succeed. So,
Right, right.
I like pros and cons of it. Like I have the $20 a month GPT chat, and I'm actually,
Okay.
I don't know if I need to get it now because I've been having conversations to where, do you really need it? I think everybody at first was using it so much that, okay, if you're paying $20 a month, you don't necessarily need to wait in line and, oh, it's busy, you can't use it. Now it's
Right.
just kind of available. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
definitely interesting to where who's going to get your money? Because obviously the more money these companies make, the more they can continue to invest.
for sure. So you made the jump now. That is great. To the next topic, basically. We just have 50 minutes left. But it's good because we can also have a little look on this graphic here, the large language model services. And well, those are not generating images for us, but they're generating text for us. And we, in this case, chose again the biggest base models, let's say, just to introduce ChatGPT. Probably some people have heard about that already from OpenAI, and there is Llama 2 already. So it's not Llama, it's Llama 2. And Llama 2 is coming from a small company called Meta. And they had something to do with Facebook. Anyways, and there's another one called Claude. And Claude is getting also quite big. And from our friends from Google, there is Bard. There's nothing to do with Bart Simpson. I was failing here, but anyways. So those are the four we can discuss basically about. And we have to say that those four are basically probably the biggest base models that are out there.
Right. No, exactly. And, I think this goes to what Eric was talking about and talked about as well, is that, I mean, it goes back to Midjourney versus Adobe, right? Like if
Yeah.
I can generate the same images in Adobe, which I pay for anyway, why would I pay another $60 a month for Midjourney? I
Yeah.
mean, that's something I'm trying to deal with now. But I've already dealt with
Exactly.
the problem of ChatGPT, where
Mhm.
if I can do the same thing with Bard or with Bing, why am I paying them $20 a month to donate the money to them? I mean, probably at some point Bard is going to charge or Bing is going to charge, or maybe not. Maybe it's just going to be part of their search.
Well, they always charge. Bottom line is they're trying to grow, and at this point they're trying to train their models. So there's a certain value in the money that, You know, they're trying to get the users and they know that they can't charge. They're not in the right spot to charge. So, and I think ChatGPT is in panic mode. You know, they don't want people going, oh no, you don't need to have this subscription, you know, because they want as many subscriptions as they can have too.
They need them.
Why would one pay? Why would you pay if Bing, for example, used ChatGPT 4.0, right?
Well, I'm paying right now. So
right.
It's like, you know, yes.
But why? I mean, that's the question I'm asking. Why? You know, it's like, I mean,
sure. You have to think about, we just have to explain that. ChatGPT can be accessed as well, basically, when you use Bing Chat, the Bing bot, or how they call it, AI chat. Again, because they are cooperating, Microsoft and OpenAI, you can use the Bing bot to generate DALL-E 2 images, DALL-E 2 coming from OpenAI. But when you talk to the Bing bot, you're basically talking to ChatGPT version 4. But they are now putting some barriers in there. I think yesterday or 2 days ago, they said that the Bing bot is now just limited a little bit more. It's just, I think, reacting 4 times to one question. You have a question, you have some more details about the question, and then you get an answer, and to that answer you have another question. And you could do that 10 times or whatever, or 15 times before. Now they limited it to 5 because they said that the model was derailed. It started to talk about stuff that has nothing to do and was insulting the user.
It's lost its train of focus, right? It can only focus so much on a topic for you.
Something. So, but that might be a difference in this case when you pay for ChatGPT, that you get more and you have more data you can put in there. But again, it depends on what you want to do with it.
So do you think that the training program has ADHD? It just can't stay focused on a topic for you?
Eric, go and ask him. Just open Bing and ask him. Let's see what he does. If it's an he.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe it's a she.
Yeah.
You don't know.
They, you know, it's better in this time to just call it they. You know, it doesn't need to be specific.
Binary. Correct.
Yes.
So the point is here as well that this whole world is somehow haunted, let's say, right? We have to see that OpenAI has to put enormous amount of money into computing power, that millions of users can ask their questions and get answers.
Yeah.
Llama is just the model. It was generated by Meta, and then it is released, and then you can download it, or another company can download it, and because it's really open source, you can offer it as a service. It's not a problem. Claude is something like ChatGPT. It's made by a company and you can access it online. Bard at the moment is in a test status, so you can access it for free. However, Google is going to handle it in the future. I have no free idea.
I mean, these are huge companies that own all of these things, so they're not going away, you know, for the most part. Like, they're just not going away. You know, these people have unlimited money that they can throw at these things. So they're jumped in and they're like, hey, we're invested.
100%. But you have to see the big difference, in my opinion. Meanwhile, ChatGPT OpenAI is hosting that stuff on their systems, all the systems of Azure Cloud from Microsoft, whatever. They are paying the bills for the machines and for the services and whatever. Meanwhile, Llama 2 is just a generated model. It's a file. It's some data that is stored on the servers. Other people are downloading it and then running it. So it's not on the cost of Meta, right?
Yeah.
But
isn't it though isn't the most important thing though? Obviously, people are paying to fund it, but the training of the model is the true value of all of the people putting in all of the data, all of the questions being answered. It's just like being on Facebook and scrolling, and they're tracking what you're clicking on, what you're, all of this stuff being tracked. It bottom line comes down to what are people interested in Google, how smart they are with SEO.
Right.
So it's just, it all comes down to we're all part of this data experiment that we're contributing.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Yes, definitely. And in this case, sure. I mean, when Meta is training Llama, it's not getting much feedback from users because it's trained, at Meta, and then the model is released, and then other people are downloading it and doing something with it. So Meta might be involved with them as well if they have contracts or whatever. If I'm downloading it and using it in my environment, I don't have enough computing power to run the big models on my computer. It's not possible. But anyways, Meta has nothing from that. I could do that offline. That's the point. I don't need even to be online. I can do with this chat bot basically whatever I like, and nobody would ever know it. I could train another Eric and talk to him all the time. So in that case, would be possible. Nobody would ever know. So yeah, you're right. It's a big difference. Like, where is more value for the companies that are training it? Having a model that is capable of something, or making it better with the help of millions of users.
100% making it better. Because you can obviously see, I'm going to let you jump in here, John, but if they would have charged $20 a month for ChatGPT instead of making it free, it would have gotten a small fraction to sign up. So they were very smart to make it free. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at Midjourney, right? Midjourney, the basic plan starts at $10 a month. Basically doesn't give you a whole lot. Like, you could generate less than 200 images a month. You don't get any.
That might be perfect somebody. That might be perfect for somebody though, John. Not everybody has made 100,000 images. You know what I mean? Like, you are an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they know you.
Oh, nice.
I'm sure they know you
That's a compliment.
by name
that
over at.
Oh, they probably do. And I actually, for a moment, I had to join them on Discord. I thought to them, but
ultimate beta tester for them. You know what I mean? I think that you're in their 1 percentile of, gathering a lot of data for them. So it would be great to get some sponsorship for Midjourney for the amount of time that we gave them in this episode. What do you think, John? At least $70, right? For a free month for you or something?
Midjourney would not even talk to anyone unless they had thousands and thousands of. That's really where they're at.
Goodness.
And David has said as much. Audience
Fair
don't.
enough.
But just continuing on the price. I mean, I'm paying $60 a month, and that's the pro plan. But there's also a mega plan for $120 a month.
Okay.
I mean, the only difference between these plans is the number of fast hour generations you get. And, that I think one of the reasons that Midjourney has been successful, I think, Night Cafe, Starry AI, all of those in continuing to train their models is that they've encouraged users to rate other user creations. And as soon as you do that, you can actually...
Not to cut you off here, but I'm looking at our timeline, and I know you got a lot more to say about Midjourney. We could do a whole nother episode just on that, but you got anything in closing here? Sorry about that, but yeah, we're very close.
No, I think we could continue this discussion next week because there are some very interesting things happening, particularly in generative video. A number of developments have happened in the last couple of days with generative video companies. That might make a topic. But no, Chris, Eric,
Well, I think it was an interesting discussion, and I hope that maybe some people got something with it from our experiences that we had with those services.
Yes, so thank you for watching. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Jolly, Eric, Chris. This is the Virtual Film Company. We broadcast here on Spatial. And to find out our schedule, to see past broadcasts, please visit at Virtual Film Company on YouTube or check us out on Facebook. Thank you,
Correct.
everyone. Have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure, like always. Thanks for everyone's watching. See you around next time.
Bye.